Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Dallas Cowboys. It was 24-20 early in the game, 24-20. Not a lot of points toward the end. The Eagles get the win to move to 1-0. Cowboys fall to 0-1. I thought this game started. We had our watch along. We had our first ever watch along, which we'll be doing for non-members and for members. A little extra perk in the future here. Our little couch set right over there watching this game. There was a lightning delay, a lot happening in this first game, but the Eagles get the win as they defend their Super Bowl title.
They did. The lightning delay, of course, cost us just enough time for the battery to end before the show.
Yeah, we're working out some kinks on the watch along, but we had we had a decent number of people watching with us for a broadcast that we couldn't show the game. We were just talking about it.
We did. It was fun, and we'll do some more of those in the future. Obviously, the biggest story of that game was right at the start, right? It was Jalen Carter getting himself tossed before the game even started for spitting on Dak Prescott. And then, subsequently, you get all the controversy of, Dak spat first in the vague general direction of Jalen Carter. Now, what do we make from that? Dak comes out and says, look, I was just spitting through the gap in my lineman, forward. I couldn't spit on my lineman, right? I'm just going, parting the gap and then spitting there. And Jalen Carter happened to be in that direction. And then he responds by, walking up and spitting on Dak Prescott. I'm not sure that Dak Prescott's explanation was a 100% correct, but I think it was correct enough that Jalen Carter was still took it from 0 to 100 in a way that was completely unnecessary and got himself tossed.
There's talk this week that Jalen Carter could see a suspension as well.
If you're going to spit on somebody, I basically have no problem with any punishment you want to dole out to that whatsoever. Absolutely toss him from the game, and if you want to lob a suspension on top of that, cool. If you spitting on somebody is the kind of thing that should instantly spark a melee. So if you I have no problem whatsoever with cracking down on that.
Which is huge because we have a Super Bowl rematch coming up this week. The Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll keep an eye on Jalen Carter. As for the game, I thought the defenses looked awful early on. It was almost like the lightning delay helped. They came out, both sides just came out with much better energy. Neither team punted well into the third quarter. And then ultimately the difference in the game I thought was Jalen Hurts with his legs. Couple rushing touchdowns, key scramble to seal the deal. He finished with 62 yards on 14 carries, including all your tush pushes and QB kneels and everything. But I thought Hurts played an efficient game. I saw stuff going around about his dink and dunk and this and that. It's the Cowboys were playing a whole bunch of zone coverage, and he finished 19 of 23 for 152, which was, the expectation. And then the one deep ball that he threw was perfect to Jahan Dotson for 51 yards. So Dotson was the leading receiver for the Eagles with 59, and A.J. Brown had just one catch for 8. So I think once again showing the Eagles can win in different ways. Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and now let's get back to the action.
Yeah, it was an unusual game from that point of view. Philadelphia, they weren't using their usual stars in the passing game. They were getting it done via different means. Dallas, so it's tough because, it was a close game. They ultimately lost. So result equals the same. However, on both sides of the ball, I think there were some sort of relatively interesting and encouraging, schematic science from Dallas. CeeDee Lamb had a big game that should have been a massive game if he just caught some footballs, right? He dropped a few passes that would have been massive plays for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, Renner had a tweet where he was Dak deserved way better. Look at this performance. And he threw 3 or 4 passes out there that were insane windows that Dak Prescott hit receivers with. Now, at least 2 or 3 of those were he put the ball into the extremely tight window. However, the tight window was moving at a rapid rate of knots towards a brick wall at the time. It's is that really a great pass, or is that inevitably going to lead to a big hit at the end, which is probably not a great idea?
At a rapid rate of knots. We're back, man.
Yeah.
You're back. We're back.
They were right on the borderline of, I don't know if that's a great play or a bad play because of what you're leading the receiver into. Now, at least one of them was a great pass, period, and it should have been caught. But so
he hit CeeDee, of those, Jake Ferguson in the end zone where he was going to take a hit, but he probably should have caught it. I thought that the 2 CeeDee Lamb drops, I don't even know if the second one was really a drop. He had to lay out with a free safety coming over the top, but the one that he put on his hands on a deep post, that was the one that was going to get them into range. That was a great throw by Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
The final one where it was kind of a desperation heave, and CeeDee's got to lay out and worry about
getting
getting
that's a drop. I mean, he had at least
whatever you want to call it,
drops.
but it was one that he laid out in probably a good spot. But I don't think he was. I wouldn't put that all on CeeDee Lamb, who had a good game. Other than
I think
he dropped some key passes.
That was a great pass. I think the problem was not the pass. I think the problem was CeeDee Lamb just got held up a tick by a defensive back, and that stopped him getting to it. I don't think that one was a drop, but I think there was at least 3 clear dropped passes by CeeDee Lamb, and he still had under 100 yards. So, I think the offense did some nice things, and I think the defense, with all that zone, they were showing on offense. They were showing a ton of motion, pre-snap motion. They basically didn't do any of that last year. So all of a sudden, you're at least being normal in terms of smashing the easy buttons that the rest of the NFL is doing for the first time in a while. And then on defense, all that zone. They showed Philadelphia effectively more zone than anybody showed them last year, right? And it did kind of work. Okay, they lost the game, but this offense was not the way it usually is. It did sort of stifle them. So it's tough to be, the Dallas Cowboys are relying on moral victories, but that's, if you don't have an actual victory to comfort yourself with, then maybe a moral one is what you can take.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really stop them until in the second half. I thought Dallas, when they needed to stop the run at the end of the game, they did a nice job at least giving the offense a chance. But look, it was a strange game in that the offenses had their way early, defenses had their way late, and you're talking about a couple CeeDee Lamb drops that probably make a big difference here. We're going to keep an eye on Jalen Carter. Obviously, a big game this week. They're going to go to Arrowhead, as I said, in the 4 o'clock window this Sunday for the Super Bowl rematch. We'll see if the Eagles are at full strength there. Other note, Walt actually brought something good to the table here early in the chat.
Wow.
Zadarius Smith signed by the Philadelphia Eagles. On Twitter, Eagles Eric, I believe, was someone astute that I noticed highlighted this, and he said because the Cowboys and Eagles play that first game, they have an opportunity to maybe sign the veteran on Friday, a day early before vesting the entire salary and everything. So the Eagles bring Zadarius Smith in, something I think the Lions really need and maybe should have done earlier. Zadarius Smith comes in to add another pass rusher to that Philadelphia front.
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, a lot of teams wait to add these veteran players because if they're active on the roster and on game day, opening week, their entire salary becomes guaranteed for the year. If you wait until after week 1, it's no longer the case. That actually feels like quite a competitive advantage for the random teams chosen for the start of the season. You get, a couple of days, or a day in this case, because there was a Friday game as well.
That doesn't really make sense.
Why not?
At all. No, that they get the advantage.
Right.
I'm agreeing with you.
It feels like it's an actual, a fairly significant competitive advantage because guys like Zadarius Smith are out there on the market basically waiting for that watershed moment of the contract, and 2 teams get several days head start over most of the league on that.
Yeah, I agree. Loophole there. But Zadarius Smith added to the Eagles. Again, they start 1-0, Cowboys 0-1 here. So that was your Thursday night game.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
And the all-knowing algorithm is convinced you'll also like these videos, and who are we to argue?